First preparation is to get this large piece of cloth hang up on a line and actually mark. See, it's actually hanging over cross and diagonal, and I'm gonna draw a line on the ridge there and then turn it around and give it another line, so I actually get a cross right across the middle, because I haven't enough space on the table to lay that flat out. Look, I got all my curtain up. That's the Loden. Yeah, it's a large piece of cloth and it's a bit tricky to handle. My table is only 70 by 150 and too small to put it all flat out, so I have to play a bit, and it doesn't really matter if it gets a bit pissed. In the end, it's just to get this roughly the thread stitched in, yeah. And if you wonder what I'm using, yeah, the material here, the bowstring, it's, let me see, bowstring D75, yeah, it's a Brownell bowstring, Dyneema bowstring. It's actually pre-waxed, yeah. So that maybe makes a big difference, because the thread is actually not a mono line, yeah. It's actually lots of thin fibers. They're actually just loosely going in parallel and stick together, slightly twisted, but basically stick together by beeswax, yeah. And that will trap the wool fiber as well. So this is one issue to address the slip of the thread, yeah. So it actually would stick in the material, and by having it twisted up, the hairs of the wool will actually integrate into the bowstring, yeah, sort of. I mean, it's just purely theoretically, but it actually helps to stabilize the reinforcement. It's like a ripstop wove, basically, what I'm trying to copy or to integrate into the material, yeah. Well, some of you probably saying what he's up to, you know, he must be sort of crazy. Yeah, if you aren't a bit crazy, you will never experience this sort of development, yeah, of having a bit special equipment. Just to put you this in a more exact explanation, what I'm planning to do. Yeah, this is just a rough diagram on how I actually gonna stitch the thread in. Yeah, that's this one, and just feeding. Let's see if you can see that. Just feed it through, and once the material is actually then you can see it's sort of asymmetric, because I'm going diagonal. It's actually this asymmetric pattern, and it's very similar to the Hennessy hammock, because that's not a dead square. It's actually shifted like diagonal and in asymmetric way. So that helps to sleep very comfortable in a straight line without too much sagging of the final hammock when it's done, yeah. And yeah, it's a reinforcement for a wool cloth. see, the reason why I'm using the Loden is because it's much thinner than the wool blanket. Yeah, the wool blanket got certain properties which are actually taking into or getting from the Loden. Yeah, it's not as thick and bulky and therefore not that heavy, but it's tighter woven, and just adding a bit of the thread, and gonna be a bit of a boring job because it's quite many long distances to feed through. Yeah, and it's not all of it. The basic attachment I'm gonna put on the final piece of cloth, yeah, is to put a ridge line on the same way as I did with the DD hammock. Yeah, that's a Dyneema what is it, Amsteel. It's a Dyneema Amsteel, they call it, from DD hammock. Yeah, so this is a self-made one. I think it's 85% of the length of the total finished length. Yeah, to get a preset for the for the slug of the cloth. Yeah, so it actually always stays with the same slug. Yeah, because the ridge line is dead straight. Yeah, in between the anchor points, and as tree hugger I'm using the oh, I can't remember what it is. It's actually climbing material. It's a 9mm Dyneema, how do they call it? It's a slug line. A slug line for climbing people. Yeah, usually, well, I opened actually the seam. It's usually an endless loop, yeah, a slug loop, and very tough, very thin. Yeah, and that's going around the tree, and finally using the whoopee sling. This is a bit more of the material from the Amsteel whoopee sling material, and yeah, basically copy the DD hammock tie-up option with the asymmetric design of the Hennessy hammock. Yeah, and to put the cherry on the top, yeah, I got mozzie net like material, yeah, off the meter. So I'm gonna stitch, that's the only thing I actually stitch, and then on the machine is a custom-made mozzie net for that DIY woolly Mammoth Loden hammock, yeah. Yeah, so this is a bit complete project, not just, well, it's thought through in a way. Imagine it's not as large as this one. This is the DD hammock with everything in it, yeah, mozzie net and the nylon cloth, yeah, it's just a handful, and but I get the properties of fairly thick wool, yeah, and reducing the amount of items, and can be actually using that as a multi-usable item, folded up as a sleeping pad on hard surface, yeah, in combination with what is it? The plush palatka can be used as an over blanket, in a hammock setup as an under blanket, yeah, and with the main tarp, the 3x3 meter tarp as a main tarp setup, the main tarp setup, our main 3x3 tarp, gonna be as a main tarp and tarp tent. And if I'm using that as a tarp tent, the hammock gonna be used as a padding. Yeah, even in shelter on a wooden platform, this one gonna be used as a padding, sleeping pad. Yeah, so I don't have to carry an extra sleeping pad. And yeah, and it's a wool blanket as well. Yeah, combined with the wetter fleck as an over blanket. Yeah, hammock setup. Under blanket, that's the plush palatka. Over blanket is the wetter fleck, and the tarp is the 3x3 tarp. Yeah, so this is basically multiple sleeping options by only having a few items to carry. Yeah, and because when I was using or sleeping actually on this hard surface in the shelter, this one was useless. Yeah, I couldn't make any use of the hammock because it's just a thin nylon, and it wasn't, you see. And while I'm planning to use all these items, the woolly and the canvas items, all the time, in combination, shifting them around. But there is no dead weight around, like this would be in one option. And even if I use the main tarp as a tent setup, this one is not in use. It's just a piece in the kit that's not in use. Yeah, so that's the what's me drives to having a go with the woolly cloth as a hammock. But obviously, yes, it needs to be stabilized to avoid rips and tear and wear. Yeah, obviously, because the hammock is it's quite substantial force on the material. Yeah, which the usually wool wouldn't cope with for a long time. Well, it will do for a few nights maybe, yeah, but it will soon start show its weakness, and to avoid a rip and getting dropped down on the floor, which I wouldn't like in the middle of the night, not at all. My mate Andy, he had this experience twice. Actually, yes, not with a woolly one, but with a nylon tarp. I bought him, well, he asked me to get him the X-Spec nylon hammock, and I ordered him actually two. The first one, he actually dropped right through the middle because there was a seam in the middle, and that failed. And so I sent him a replacement nylon tarp, the same again, actually with a double layer. They do two, yeah. One is a one layer and one is a double layer where I can put some clothes in between, yeah. Even that one ripped, yeah. He dropped on the ground in the middle of the night. He was so pissed off. I mean, I understand that, because once your equipment fails, you eventually have to end your trip. Actually, in one occasion, the first time when he dropped on the ground, he was so pissed off, we actually had to cancel our trip, yeah, to get him home again, because there was no way for him to find any alternative, because he only had the hammock and for sleeping, yeah. He could have slept on the ground with no padding and just a sleeping bag, but it's not a good or not very comfortable if you got lots of ants around and pine needles or hard ground, hard surface ground, stone ground, yeah, you don't really want that. So the sleeping system is an underestimated task to tackle. Yeah, so I'm taking all that into account. Maybe you can see it or not, but there's this line, yeah, and I went along the ridge line, and you can see there's a line, just roughly marked that up. It's a white line, yeah, and going down there to the tip as well, yeah. So I got that actually then crossed now, and you can't see that here. It's actually another line here up to the end. Oh, it's hard to see, but that gives me the indication I need. Hard to see, but that gives me the indication. The first I need cross line in, yeah, and then keep that as a guideline. Cross line offset in, yeah, an inch, and then maybe keep that as a guideline with a grid offset of an inch, or maybe I'd probably start with a grid, so that would offset give me this of an inch, checker, yeah, pattern. So that would an inch by an inch give me this checker square bit pattern, and that will do as with an inch by an inch reinforcement square bit, and that will do. I can always add more, but I think reinforcement that will do for a start. Just a quick introduction for the thread I'm using. Yeah, just see there's a line going here. It's a chalk mark, and for clarity, yeah, I'm using the Brunwell D75. That's the fast flight bowstring. Yeah, it's a Dyneema, and when you look at the thread, it's actually already, it's very pre-waxed. Yeah, it's actually pre-waxed on the bobbin, on this cock, yeah, and it's not a monoline. Let's see if I can. It's actually. Let's see if I'm going to show that to fray that off. It's basically, yeah, multi-fiber. It's a bit, well, you can see very tiny hairs coming off, yeah, or threads. It's sticky, and it's like a nettle fiber component, yeah, and just twisted together or stuck together by wax. And for the needles, I just use some standard household needles with a very thin eye. Yeah, let's see if we can put that in here. See, just feed that into the needle. Oh, bloody hell. Yeah, now it's in there. So just, it's sticky, yeah, it's sticky thread. And if I would, it just, you know, it doesn't come apart. So this will stick nicely to the wool. And because it's very thin, yeah, it's going to work very well into the material without taking up too much bulk, and it's still very lightweight and doesn't make the wool any much heavier. I mean, this is not too big. I don't know. I think it's about 4 or 5 kilometers of thread on this cork, and let's see if I'm not sure if you can read that. what it is exactly. I try my best with the camera here. Brownwell and Company model CT 06469D. If you're interested, if you want to order that. Yeah, and it's a brown water, and that matched quite well. It's a brown Brownwell and Company model CT. Good morning. Had my breakfast, had my tea, and not really awake yet, but well, thought carry on. It's a long and boring jobby to do, and I spare you most of it because the tiny needle has to go through all the material a lot of times. And I measured the diagonal, it's actually 3.30 meters, yeah? So for start I go across like on the marking line, yeah? And after that I probably do a few additional markings to get an even pattern for the diamond shaped square bits, and so to have it then even spread it over the material. It's going to be a funny, crazy pattern. I have to stitch in, and as I say, it takes quite a long time just by using a needle. And what I do, I just leave the thread open on the cork, yeah, and start feeding in here. I just, I don't know if you probably can't see that anyway. You see there's a line here, and I just have to go, I'm doing it in a distance like ½ an inch wise, yeah, so actually the needle is feeded through like that. Yeah, can you see that? The shimmer of the needle. So that's, I'm not counter stitch that. Just going through, and because the thread is wax and it's will do the job sticking to it. So I'm creating a loose mesh in the material, yeah. It's a needle, so you can see, and that's what I have to do all the way. So and pull that through like, yeah. It's already sticking on the table here, and hope there's not any knots getting into it. It doesn't matter if that's not 100% straight, but the main idea is to have enough stability so there will not get some slip in it. Yeah, it takes quite a bit to pull that. See, it's already, I mean, for start I can just pull it through, but later on I have to do that in steps, like getting a further loop in here. So it's a bit of a fiddly job, yeah, and I spare you. So let's see if you can see. So this is the start, yeah, and it looks a little bit rough for now, and it's getting neater during the if the pattern is all done. It's yeah, that's my project. Wow, I spare you more of the stitching for now and carry on doing it, and when I get to a certain stage I clip in again, right? See you soon. Yeah, as you can see, just working my way through, just a length of 3 stitches at a time along the needle, and then pull the thread through, yeah, like so, and get a seam like that, just loosely in there, and yeah, it's getting hard to see where the line is. I may have to reduce the chalk mark a bit. That's how easy the chalk disappears in the material after some time, so it's not leaves any trail on the material. So yeah, working my way through it. Yeah, sometimes the line starts to disappear, so yeah, actually I reduced the stitches to 1/4 of an inch, so it's more tighter, especially along the middle. I'm already past the middle, it was actually here, yeah, and well, work my way into it. As you can see, quite takes some patience to do so, and it's getting harder to pull the thread through, and it actually pulls itself into the material, and you see, it's and once there is some tension on the material, it actually disappears. It looks like it's wet on the surface now, but it will disappear into the material. Okay, almost at the end for the first stretch. Yeah, that way. What you can see before I pull that through, see they frayed up. Let's see if I can. You see it's all frayed up. Yeah, that's the individual fibers. So this is not a mono line. Yeah, it's all fluffing while coming apart because the wax is actually worn out at that point here by just pulling it through. But yeah, so the first center line is done. I leave that open for now without locking it off, because I don't know yet how to eventually doing a cross mesh sort of to lock it off, yeah, to give it a bit more stability on the end dart. And once I fold that up, it's actually then eventually getting a bit more across to give the end tips a bit more stability. So therefore I leave the thread open, just takes the needle out and leave that open for now. And well, having another tea and then start the other stretch. One thing I never start counting, yeah? Once you start counting, you won't see the end of the thing. I just getting along, and eventually I reach the end. And I'm surprised how far the time has gone by, but I never ever start counting or taking notes how long it takes or anything. I just carry on doing it and just cut the inner time out, yeah? Sort of, that helps to do this sort of boring and yeah, jobbies that needs quite a lot of patience and not getting fed up with it, yeah? So just switch my head off, think about something else, maybe how I'm gonna do just in advance of what I'm doing. So this is just a pure mechanical work for me, yeah? But mentally I'm somewhere else and thinking or try to, while getting into the project and think in advance what I'm gonna do next. Yeah, what step needs to be done next to achieve the finished project. Yeah, that's simple as that. So if you wonder how I managed doing that, that's switching my brain off or just trailing off, but staying on the project, yeah? Just set myself apart of the mechanical, physical work, yeah? And that helps to even do small, tiny steps and not start thinking about, oh, how many more I have to do, I'm not doing that at all. Maybe it's an advantage, but it gives you an indication on how I managed to do this sort of iffy jobbies. First crossing is done. Alright, getting a bit closer, so I can. I have to draw a bit the distance up to get a more even gapping. Yeah, in between the. This is one line here, and the other one going that way. So to get this diamond shape joints evenly, yeah, the squares, I have to get myself a few marks up and then extend that to the tip in a tapered manner. And yeah, get some marks here, there and there, and obviously I want this here and here as well, just to, it's an inch, yeah, an inch distance. And now I'm well, it's getting a bit tricky because I have to taper the get a straight line to the tip on the other end, which is 1.5 meter away, yeah, and to have the next indication line, but still got the center as main guide, and just to get an even net into the material, yeah. That's how it then goes along. I'll mark sure, just to show you how that's gonna go. That's how it's that way, sort of. And so you may can imagine how that will end up in the end. Yeah, I'm going to put a center mark for myself to find it easier. And then yeah, one line after another, and they join actually then in a little, well, end up in a diamond shape. Yeah, that's where they, and that's what the mesh gonna be then in the end. As you can see, lots to do. Nothing for someone who's just watching for entertainment, as many people do. They, you know, I mean, to create something like that, it's not entertainment. It's but in the end, I'm gonna enjoy my finished hammock in the woods, and solved another problem, like having a chill on my back, yeah, early in the morning, around 5, 6 o'clock, when it's get really chilly, usually, yeah, even in summer, yes. So this one will actually solve some of my problems, and adding to my kit, yeah, gonna be an interesting project. Hope you enjoyed so far. I carry on stitching. It's gonna be a long, gruesome job to do. Well, I'm getting there, slowly and steady. I got the third row in, and need a bit of break. Some of you may wonder, what the hell does he doing? You know, why doesn't take the machine for stitching these lines in, yeah, to stabilize the cloth? There is a reason for that, because if you know how a machine actually feeds the thread, stitching the thread into the materials, actually there are two threads, yeah, going in parallel, and one goes down, one goes up, and then they lock to each other. So that's actually, the whole strength is actually, or the tension is actually on the thread, yeah. So the whole, well, the main tension then is on the thread and not particularly on the material. And what I want to achieve is to avoid the slip of the thread, which the wax does the job for that, and the multi-layer of fibers, yeah. And the reason why I only go one in, one out, one in, one out is I want to keep the shift remaining, the shift, so actually the material can move, yeah, and the thread actually goes with the cloth. It's actually like a canvas woven, just in well, step further apart, yeah. So it's just like the reinforced additional wove into the material, and so it's actually more evenly over the whole surface, while when I go with the machine, it actually creates a chained mesh, but I want to keep the main structure of the wool as such, yeah. So that's, and because I'm not locking the stitching up, because I only go up and down in waves rather than counter waves, blocking the stuff off. And now I'm tipping my tea over there. Anyway, you know, you're getting there. Well, you understood what I mean, hopefully. Cheers. Hopefully it's not getting too sticky with sugar in it. Okay, call it a day for now. This is only the second part, yeah. The first part was just the introduction on why I wanted to start this project. I'm basically in the middle of the project. I spare you a bit more of the stitching, which would take quite a while, and I come back to you in the next episode of it. Yeah, once I got near to the end, and yeah, there's more to come. The mozzinet wants to be stitched up, all the end knotting, yeah, and the ridge line put in place, and that would be the third and maybe even the finished version. I try to keep it short, yeah, and hopefully I can show you that in action too. So keep tuned, and sorry that I drag it all a bit along, but it's with this sort of projects, it takes its time, yeah. It's not, you can't rush that through. So I hope you excuse, and yeah, see you shortly.